What's happening, people? Welcome back. Today I'll be going over the insights and lessons that I've learned this year. 2022 is almost over. We're in December, so we only have a couple days left. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot this year from listening to podcasts, from reading a lot of books, from even watching YouTube videos, and just in life in general. I learned a lot from just life in general. And I thought of sharing this video for you guys. I'm going to bring together all the insights and lessons that I've learned this year. And hopefully you'll learn something. Hopefully you'll learn a lot. It will be 22, so it might be a long video. So stay in tune. I'll be sharing from a lot of my favorite people in the world. So I'm excited. And yeah, let's begin. The first one is James Smith. Writing a book isn't that impressive. So this was a podcast that I was listening to a few months ago, and it's in the Modern Wisdom podcast. So that's hosted by Chris Williamson. I recommend you listen to that podcast. It's really good. He interviews a lot of excelling and successful people around the world. James Smith is an author. I think he wrote the book How to Be More Confident. I haven't read the book yet, but that podcast was insightful. And they were talking about this concept of writing a book isn't that impressive. I give you a coffee, a laptop, the internet, while putting a pistol on the back of your head. I say, here is your topic. You'll research for 15 minutes and write for 15 minutes every day. In a year's time, you'll stimulate all the things you have written into a $1 commodity. That isn't impressive to write a book. Just contemplating on what James Smith said in that interview, I thought about my own life and wondered if I was challenging myself enough or not. So at that stage, I was still in college. I mean, I'm still in college right now, but I was, so I'm taking this course, Mandarin, and trying to learn Chinese, but I'm majoring in economics. And I had a hard time with language course. It was just taking too much of my time, and I really didn't like it. And I thought of escape. I thought of maybe dropping the course so I could spend more time in economics. But when I was watching their interview and sort of picking out some nuggets from the interview, I realized that I wasn't challenging myself enough, and I was trying to escape something that's hard. And I thought of if someone had a pistol in my head, then I probably wouldn't drop. I mean, I definitely wouldn't drop Mandarin. I mean, I'll do both of them as best as I can. But when we don't have those hard deadlines, when we don't have those hard pressures, then we tend to slack off and we become complacent. So it was a good way to reflect and keep inspiring myself and keep motivating myself. Next, Marcus Aurelius. What people say and do is their problem. So Marcus Aurelius is a Stoic. He's a Stoic philosopher, and if you want to know more about Stoicism, I recommend you dive deeper into a lot of books of Ryan Holiday. Really good. He has all the insights of learning about Stoicism, ethics. You don't have to be religious. You just have to know a lot of just simply Stoicism, how to live life with happiness and purposefulness, and etc. etc. Other people's mistake leaves them to their makers, says Marcus Aurelius. So meaning what other people say and do is their problem, not up to you or I. But what is up to you and I is to focus and learn on our own mistakes and avoiding error in our own lives. So this quote really helped me think harder and not always trying to look for other people's mistakes. I mean, this is like a very general thing. I mean, a lot of people face that problem of just focusing way too much self on other people's mistake and not on their own. And when it comes to even lifting weights, I remember like just trying to the workout buddies that I would go with, I would try to look for their mistakes because they're always trying to fix my mistake when I'm like lifting. Okay, let's say I was doing bench and my form wasn't correct. And in some way, when they were telling me how to fix things in that, I know the whole like concept of learn from them and let go of your ego, but it isn't as easy as people say it is, right? So But then reading this quote and reflecting again on it, I was able to let go of my ego a little bit and really accept what I'm learning. Because in the end, my future self would appreciate my future self would appreciate me not being egotistical at the current moment. Because in the future, I'll be able to bench even more. I'll be able to have a better form. So when it comes to lifting, it was a good way to reflect on it. It's not only for lifting, I mean, it's for other things as well. Let's say that you're a student and you're trying to get better grades, and your friend is telling you your mistakes, but then because you're at the same level, because you're the same age, you have this ego of not accepting what he's trying to teach you. So we all have that ego problem. And then another scenario that I remember was I was I was I was with this girl this year, and I was trying to. I just didn't like some of her mistakes. Like I saw ourselves in a better relationship if I could try to fix her mistakes, if I could try to see what's wrong. But in the end, people just don't want to change, and you have to accept it. She's not family, so it wasn't a big issue. I don't have more responsibility to try to change the things that I don't like, and probably vice versa as well. But this quote kind of helped me contemplate that some people just don't want to change and you have to move on. All right, next. Myself, so this happened to me. Forgiveness can actually save a lot of time that you might have not known. So, in the middle of the year or so, I was riding my bike, and I was just riding my bike and I was passing through the lane. I'm not really used to letting people know that I'm passing by when I ride my bike. I'm kind of quiet. I like to just focus on the lane. And this guy came out of nowhere, and I passed by him without telling him that I'm on his, like, I'm gonna come on the right side or the left side. I didn't let him know. And then right when I passed by him, he freaked out. And then right after he freaked out, he called me a dickhead afterwards. Like, you fucking dickhead. And then I was very angry. I mean, I don't think I had a good day that time. That's probably why. Most of the time, we usually get triggered and angry, not because of what's happening in the moment, but it's because of our focus in the past, because of our focus for the future. So it's not, our intention is never directed into the right path. So for me, when I got triggered, I looked back and I knew that I knew that I didn't want to get angry, because I read books about like how to control anger. I read this one book also from Thich Nhat Hanh called Silence. I think at that time I was reading that book as well, so I appreciate that I read that book. It helped me. And I looked back and I was triggered, but then I said, "What did you call me?" And he didn't say anything, but I really wanted to go in front of him and have like a broad shoulder and like stare him in the eye and confront him and say, "Never call me that again." But I didn't. I ignored and I just went past by. And then I got to thinking afterwards, I saved a lot of time. What if I went in front of him and confronted him? I mean, maybe we could have got resolved, but that time was also wasted just to prove my pride. We could have maybe ended up in hospital. That could be 2 hours. That could be 1 hour maybe. So I saved a lot of time, and in the end, I feel like we're in those situations where we think everyone's looking at us, and we have to show our pride and our ego and prove to the other side that who we are is who we are. But I save a lot of time, and it got me to think that maybe I don't really have to confront people all the time. All right, next. Jim Quick, remember everyone's name. This was pretty cool, actually. So this year I learned how to remember people's name. Remembering people's name was always something that I wanted to learn. I even took courses on how to remember people's name, like tactics, tricks. And there's this acronym that I learned from his podcast. His podcast is called Quick Learning. And Jim Quick is this brain coach that's very famous. He's very famous in the West. And the acronym is called Be Suave. So BESUAVE, Be Suave. And Just keep that in your mind. Be suave, okay? And B is for believe, E is for exercise, and then suave. S is for saying, A is for ask, U is for using, V is for visualizing, and then E is to end. And then when you say believe, I used to always believe that I used to always believe that I was bad at remembering people's name, and that was a huge detriment for me because everything stems from belief and mindset, right? If you believe you'll remember people's name and you keep telling yourself and you have that confidence, you build that confidence that even though you might forget someone's name, you could say, I don't remember his or her name yet. Then you have a growth mindset. But then if you keep telling yourself, that I suck at remembering people's name, then yeah, you do suck at remembering people's name. You will suck at remembering people's name, and you will always suck at remembering people's name. So what you want to tell yourself is, I believe I can remember people's name. And if you can't yet, then say yet at the end of the sentence. So B is for believe, fix that first. And then E is for exercising. When you're not in front of people, when you're not going to be introduced, exercise. Talk to yourself, look at the acronym, go through it again, visualize, oh, okay, what if this scenario happens and I need to remember this professor's name, and then, yeah, just exercise, practice it. Everything requires practice. And then S is to say. So when you first get introduced to someone and you meet up, say the guy's name, say the person's name. So let's say it's Bob. I'll say, hey Bob, how are you guys? How are you doing? So then we meet, I say, what's your name? He says, I'm Bob. Most people don't even repeat it back to them. You want to say, hey Bob, nice to meet you. Like, say their name at first. That's called primacy. And then you go next, and then this is so that's saying, and then use for using. So in mid conversation, when you're having conversation with them, use their name. So hey Bob, I wanted to ask you a question, instead of just saying I wanted to ask you a question. So keep using their name in the middle of the conversation, and it makes it super easy for you to remember because you're using repetition. And then A is for ask. If you don't remember the person's name, don't be shy. Just it's not inappropriate. It's not rude. Just say, sorry, I don't remember your name. What's your name? So then when you ask that, you won't forget the name because now you have put pressure. You have put pressure to remember the name because you have asked them again. So then ask is not rude. It's not inappropriate. It's not. It's not. You just ask. Sorry, how do you say that name again? You can say that. And then, so you, and then V is to visualize. This is sort of a mnemonic. This is a visualization technique, imagery technique. So you ask them, and then so visualize. So let's say it's Bob. I will visualize, okay, Bob is wearing, the cartoon character Bob the Builder. He's wearing Bob the Builder's clothes. He has all the tools by Bob the Builder. He's maybe making a house. He has his other Bob the Builder, like Bob Builder's friends by him, and he looks cartoonish. So make it sort of childish, and then that will help you remember. So you're visualizing the name. And the E is to end it off. So when you're done with the conversation, then end it off with saying his name again. So, hey Bob, it was nice to meet you. It was wonderful to meet you, and I learned a lot about you, and etc. etc. So be suave. Great tactic. The next one is by Mark Manson. Trial and error. I personally think anxiety is a big culprit when it comes to preventing men from being attractive and successfully meeting and dating women. You remove anxiety, and trial and error would take care of the rest. I love this quote. I was reading this in Models, so that's his other book that I read this year. Excuse me. And this book was obviously it's trying to attract girls through honesty, and there's no like pickup artist. There's nothing cheesy about it. It's more of designing your lifestyle that truly attracts girls. Anyhow, in this quote, that what really resonated with me is everything is a trial and error basis, and it's all about effort. you don't need to be the most cool, adventurous dude. You can just build that. So it's like a video game. You want to increase your XPX. You want to increase your level, right? You want to get that armor. You have to slay this dragon, and you get the armor. After you get the armor, you slay another dragon. You get the sword. So etc. 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 And your own character is building, and that's exciting. You should be excited to build something, and I am excited. So I think that's a very truly impactful and important mindset. And then for this case, for me, trial and error. This year I learned the guitar. I can play like 10 songs now. I never knew I could play songs before. But I just went through the trial and error basis. I didn't think anymore. I just, okay, let's buy a guitar. Let's get a secondhand guitar. It won't be that expensive, like $50. And then let's keep playing it, play a song, keep playing the song again. If I don't like the song, I can move on. And then I keep failing and I keep coming back. So I just kept doing the trial and error basis. And then another thing was also lifting weights. I mean, I'm a fairly new lifter. I've only lifted weights for 2 years. And I was shy. I was anxious to go into the gym. Some people are jacked, but no one really cares. Now I don't care. And yeah, you change as a person. So I think we have that overwhelming expectation, or what the psychological term, like in psychology, what they call is, we have perception illusion. We have perceptual illusion, but it's not what we think it is. It truly is a trial and error basis. Treat trial and error basis on anything in life, and that helped me understand the true essence of becoming the person that you want to become. Next, Ryan Holiday, do the thing. Talking about the thing and doing the thing via, for the same resources, allocate your energy appropriately. Let me say that again. Talking about the thing and doing the thing via, for the same resources, allocate your energy appropriately. When you talk about starting something new, you get the sense of satisfaction that you get. But what ends up happening is our satisfaction pushes off the requirement for action from just doing it. Talking about a thing isn't very easier than just doing the thing. So this was just like simply do the thing. It's like another slogan of Nike, just do it, right? I don't know if these two resemble the same thing, but what I understood from this quote is that there's this level of, okay, let's say that you want to start making videos, right? The worst thing you could do is tell people that you're going to start a video, because that's what generally everyone does. Or you want to start a business and you tell everyone, your friends, I want to start a business. That's okay if you're looking for accountability. But what he says is that there is something happening in your brain, that you're receiving dopamine and satisfaction from telling others what you want to accomplish, what you haven't yet, than just doing it through discipline, through habits. Like, do it first and then tell others, instead of telling others and then do it afterwards. Because when you tell others and do it afterwards, you have the satisfaction, and maybe it tricks you believing that, oh, I know, I don't know, it just tricks you into believing that you've done the thing. It tricks you into believing that you have already accomplished the thing, but you haven't. So do the action, the goal that you want to do first, and then tell others if you want to in the end. But the most successful people that I see don't tell others first. They do the shit. They do the thing first. They do the habit. They do the goal. They accomplish it, and then they tell others. Or even they don't have to tell others. It just spreads, rumors, gossips. It spreads quickly. All right, next. David Goggins, armor your mind. This was a concept that really helps me. This was a concept, I think it was actually it's a dedicated chapter from one of his books. the first book, Can't Hurt Me, and I read that 2 years ago. Armor Your Mind, and I learned that whatever hardship or like mentally or even physically will always strengthen your mind. Every everything that's chaotic, everything that's could seem like it's the end of the world could strengthen your mind, will strengthen your mind. I purposely sometimes lift weights to go through that hardship, go through that pain, because I know in the end, obviously my body is looking better, but I also know that my brain will get stronger. I know that I will be able to strengthen my brain and, yeah, build an armor like brain. Pretty cool concept. Not like brain, I mean like mind. What you believe, what you can go through, how much more pain can you withhold. And it was insightful. I truly think that when you hope for life to get easier is the worst, but instead you should become better at going through the hardships in life, right? So it was insightful, and I recommend you read that book. Maybe it'll help you a lot. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Next, Seth Godin. Practice, practice, practice. If you commit yourself to 1 hour of creative practice each day, you'll learn to trust yourself to keep moving despite feeling like an imposter. This was, I think, in one of his blogs, so it's called Seth's blog. And yeah, cool content there. I recommend you guys check it out. A lot about self-improvement, a lot about marketing, a lot about just life advices in general. And I learned that the importance of practice, quantity instead of quality. And I want to get through that threshold of just practicing all my creative work as much as I can, right? So let's say when it comes to the guitar, I try to practice it most days, not every day, but I just go through the process of not binging it in one like in a couple hour session in 1 month. I would instead spread it out. I would instead do it more quantity instead of one time. If you get what I mean. So that's in guitar. Even gym, like I won't miss. If I don't really feel like working out, I would just do a shorter workout, but I still get that repetition in, and I get more used to it. It's more of a discipline instead of a motivation. It's more of a habit that I have to do instead of relying on when do I feel like doing, right? And I think that's crucial. Even like recording videos, I could never imagine a year ago that I would be speaking on camera all the time, trying to be creative, trying to give you guys some content, to give you guys some knowledge that I've learned from other knowledgeable people, and be like the mediator, pretty much. So very helpful, and I think there's even a book called Practice, Practice, Practice from Seth Godin, and he says that daily hour of creative work equals self-trust. So the more creative you can do every day, and you keep practicing, you'll start to build that confidence. You start to trust yourself with producing good content, with producing whatever it can be. And most importantly, he says in the end, I think in that blog, is love the process instead of thinking about the destination. And there's this other quote that Ali Abdaal also says that I've like heard so many times, is enjoy the journey before the destination. Enjoy the journey before the destination. And I think that is from a book by Brandon Sanderson, who is this fantasy writer. All right. Next, Jordan Peterson. Practice is your identity. Don't practice what you do not want to become. This was, again, from the Modern Wisdom podcast hosted by Chris Williamson. I was listening to it this year. And I love this quote. It's so true. It's like, every time I'm doing any habit, any like circumstance, any sort of thing that I'm doing, I try to identify myself as, is this the person that I want to become? Is this, because practice and habit and what you do on a daily basis is pretty much who you will become in the future, right? And yeah, I just remind myself, I keep thinking and wondering if this is the person that if I would like to become, if is this the person that I want to become. So I mean, sometimes you could fall in the rabbit hole of regret, but go a little bit easy on that and just think long term. Long term thinking is so important. And this book really helped me. I mean, this quote really helped me think long term. Next, Tim Ferriss. 10-day silent retreat. 10-day silent retreat. No talking, no reading, discouraged from writing, no music, no sense, very little eye contact. This was from podcast hosted by Rich Rolls. I think he's like nominated as #1 health podcast. I was listening to it on YouTube. Wonderful episode. I think the title is called The Evolution of Tim Ferriss. And this really excited me because I've always wanted to go on a retreat. The one that I want to go to is Vipassana meditation, or it's also called Samatha meditation. It's in India. Fortunately, this summer break, I'll be going to India, and I am going to take that course. I'm going to go for a 10-day retreat. I don't know if it'll be as strict as what Tim Ferriss does, but it really, I was hearing his perspective of like what he gained, what knowledge he gained from that retreat, and I was very motivated. I really wanted to do it. I've always delayed it. I've always pushed it off, but this time I'm gonna do it, and I'm really excited. So a 10-day Vipassana meditation course in India, probably like next year in June, July. So I'm excited for that, and that his whole spiel and his whole experience talking about it really inspired me to do it. So yeah, I'm excited. Maybe I'll make a video about my experience of the Vipassana course in the future. So stay tuned for that. All right, next, Ed Thorpe. This was let's just keep going. Timeless wisdom from an 89-year-old. So Ed Thorpe is a mathematics professor. He's a hedge fund manager. And he's also a blackjack player. So cards. And there's like this, so Tim Ferriss, Tim Ferriss asked him what wisdom, what experience have you gained from mid-age to now, which is how he's 89 years old. So from mid-age to 89 years old, and how he thought of life and how his mindset changed, and yeah, just like overall what changed for him and what beliefs that have changed for him. And Tim Ferriss asked that question, and Ed Thorpe's answer is this: marathon taught me a lot about life. Life is a lot like a marathon. Here I am as age 50. So this is when he was age 50. That's like years ago. Right now he's 89 years old. Here I am at age 50. Just started at age 47. So he started running marathon at age 47, which in society is considered super late, but for him it isn't. Which society would consider old. I am at a midpoint in life. Halfway through a marathon, don't sprint cause you'll burn yourself off. We eventually learned how to get through the wall without getting through the wall. So Ed Thorpe is one of my favorite people on planet Earth, just because he really hit it home for me of how to live life, prioritize family, prioritize work, but have a good balance. We always say this concept of work and life balance, but he really mastered it. And this guy is 89 years old. He looks like he's 60 years old. His brain is super sharp, and he says that he might live up to 120 years old. So I'm excited to see what he will look like in the upcoming future when I'm like 30 or 40 years old. But yeah, really influential guy for me. I've just recently discovered him this year, so I'll be reading his books as well. I think one of the books is called A Man Who Knew the Market or something like that. So I'll go through his background and more of his work that he has done. So yeah, but his lesson is pretty much that life is like a marathon. Don't try to sprint. Really be smart. Be smart with the people that you hang out with. Be smart with what's happening to you. Like the use your senses properly and don't just indulge and become complacent. Like really be critical with the people that you hang out with how you spend your time. Are your habits, the things that you consume, like maybe diet. Have a very good plan for your life and stick to that plan. So I don't know. I really liked that podcast. I recommend you listen to it as well. Next, Thomas Sowell. There is no solutions, only trade-offs. There is nothing in human nature that would cause us to be happy. The fact is that we have the wrong institutions. Man is flawed from day one, and there aren't solutions. There are only trade-offs. Whatever you do creates flaws and creates one another problem. So, Thomas Sowell, those of you guys who don't know, he's a very famous economist. I'm studying economics, so I like knowing more economists on planet Earth. So, but his quote really resonated with me because he's talking about the market in general, like the left wing, the right wing. There's not like a perfect solution for either side. There's always going to be trade-offs. But also in terms of life, it's so relatable. Also in terms of student, it's so relatable. Also in terms of anything that we do, it's so relatable because there aren't solutions. You're not going to get a guaranteed no regret ticket. There's going to be trade-offs. There's going to be regrets, and you have to be better and accept the fact that one decision will have an opportunity cost, right? And you just have to decide which regret would you stick longer with. Like both decisions, you're gonna have regrets. Either decision you're gonna make. So A and B. If you choose B, you'll still have regrets. You're not gonna be perfectly happy. You're not gonna be perfectly perfect. So this really helped me accept the fact that whatever I do, I will always have regrets. And it's completely normal. That's human nature. So, next, Thich Nhat Hanh. Mindfulness is a practice that stops the noise inside. When feeling lonely or anxious, most of us have the habit of thinking for distractions, which often leads to some form of unwholesome consumption, which often leads to some form of unwholesome consumption, whether eating a snack in the absence of hunger. When feeling lonely or anxious, most of us have the habit of looking for distractions, which often leads to some form of unwholesomeness consumption, whether eating a snack in the absence of hunger, mindlessly surfing the internet, going on a drive, or reading. Conscious breathing is a good way to nourish the mind and body with mindfulness. This quote was from this book called Silence that I read this year, and this whole book is about just trying to be calmer and really understand how meditation and just simply breathing can help you a lot in life. And because in the end, I think we tend to think way too much about the past and about the future and never be present, never feel this stillness. And yeah, what really resonated with me about this quote from that book was I learned to be aware of my temptations. Not perfect at it all the time, right? Still a flawed person, but it helped a couple times. It helped many times actually. And yeah, you're gonna have to keep through the process, keep it consistent, keep reminding yourself that the process of making mistakes but also fixing them, like trial and error, like I said before, really works, and you just have to keep it up. And for me, it just helped me. This quote helped me be aware of my temptations, be aware of my urges, and control them. Next, Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink. Discipline eats motivation for breakfast. That is why I prefer discipline to motivation. Motivation is a fleeting, it comes and goes. Discipline is always there. You don't need the want to go to gym or have a difficult conversation with your partner. You simply need to do the thing. By doing the thing, you shortcut the need for motivation entirely. I love this quote because it makes it controllable for anyone despite their background. All it comes to is how do you spend your day every day? And that will lead to the person that you want to become. So it's very controllable, and I love the fact that it's controllable. That's why I'm so obsessed with what people's routines are. I'm so obsessed with okay, I discovered this famous author. Like, what does he do on a daily basis? Like, how does his day look like? What does he do? Where does he go? Where does he doesn't go? So it really made me think and made it so controllable, and it's so easy, and so not easy, but it's so amazing, and yeah, controllable. Next, this is my dad. My dad told me this. He said, "Nothing will ever seem as you expect." So he was telling me the story about how he first went to Toronto in Canada, and yeah, he had like this poster of how Toronto looks like, and then he went there, and it just wasn't the way he expected it to be. And in psychology, they call it the perceptual illusion, where we expect something, but it does not look the way we expect it to look, right? So for me as well, coming to America, I mean, I had all this theory. I went to a boarding school in India, and my friends from America, they would always tell me stories about how America looks like. And I came here. I'm not saying it's bad; it's wonderful here, but it's not what I thought it was, right? So it's good to be aware that what you think and what it becomes aren't real, and you just have to. You have like this whole huge, overwhelming expectation of something. Just remind yourself to stay grounded, and it's not gonna look the way you think it'll look. Next, Andrew Huberman. You cannot control the mind with the mind. If you can't control the mind with the mind, look to the body to control the mind. This was very awesome because I learned that. So you're in the situations where you have emotional stress, you have maybe like you're kind of depressed, maybe you are like you're just not, maybe you're getting bad grades, maybe you are lacking focus, maybe you're lacking purposefulness, maybe you are just dreary, like you just don't feel good one day, maybe you feel like shit. And his whole theory is sometimes it's not like, don't try to battle those problems with your mind because it's always already a mind problem. Instead, think of your body like, are you consuming the proper nutrients? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you going outside, exercising in the sunlight, getting vitamin D? Like, are you doing all these habits that can affect your mental health? Like, don't try to battle your mental health problem with like trying to do some trick in your mind, because you can rely externally actually. Like internally you can help your external form, but sometimes external form can also help your internal form. And sometimes your body can help your mind instead of your mind helping your body all the time. So that was very insightful, and yeah, again, it becomes very controllable. Next, Ali Abdaal. How can I make it fun? So Ali Abdaal is YouTube, he's a YouTuber, and he keeps saying everything that he has done, he's tried to make it more fun and more enjoyable. So he's like he's a doctor, and then he makes a lot of YouTube videos about productivity and his book reviews and all these brilliant quality work videos require a lot of work in the background that people don't know. But he says that he've learned to enjoy the process. He have learned to find out ways to make it fun, right? So like, let's say that you're a college student and you're studying, and it could be very boring, but how can you make it fun? Like, asking that question is so important. You can make it fun by going to a better environment, maybe like the library with people in the background chirping and kind of makes you want to study harder and better. You can listen to music, put some binaural beats or lo-fi beats. So you want to figure out ways to enjoy the things that you considered are boring. Next, Greg McEwen. Decide what you suck at. You have to focus on the progress towards a specific thing in the medium term or sacrifice meaningful progress towards everything in the long term. Let me say that again. You have to focus on progress towards a specific thing in medium term or sacrifice meaningful progress towards everything in the long term. And then Chris Williamson, the host of Modern Wisdom, he went on Joe Rogan's podcast this year, and he also adds on to this quote, is you can be anything you want, but you can't be everything you want. So I liked this, the fact that you just have to accept the fact that everything is limited and you can't accomplish everything in this modern world of like crazy amount of stimulation, advertisements, and like awesome softwares that can fix our life's problem, like let's say losing weight, let's say becoming more productive with the best looking calendar, or let's say like the wake up alarm. All these stuff are externally dependent, and we think we have figured out life by depending on these softwares. But it doesn't work. And you just have to accept the fact that you can't be like, let's say it's like right now for me, I am a student and I'm doing college. I'm doing my priorities are getting good grades in college, lifting weights to have better body, eating healthy. So I'm doing all these habits that I want to do, which are my priority. What am I sucking at right now then? I have to be brutally honest. I suck at, let's say, making friends because I'm not prioritizing it. I suck at maybe going to dates because I'm not prioritizing it. So I have to accept the fact that I will suck at certain things for me to achieve the other things. And I just have to accept the fact that I can't do everything at the same time. Right? I'm also trying to prioritize sleeping. I'm sleeping 8 hours most nights. That's my priority. And that's also because I read this book, Why We Sleep, by Matthew Walker, and man, he really convinced me with the fact that sleeping is so important. But so my sacrifice, my shitty things that I'm at, what I suck at is more of the friendship, more of the social life for the meantime, and I just sacrificed it. That's what I have to do. Maybe in the future I will change it. I'll figure out other ways to incorporate more of socializing, but right now that isn't my priority, and I just have to accept the fact that I'll suck at it. Next, Epictetus, the manual for living. Never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in it. Personal merit cannot be derived from an external source. It is not to be found in your personal associations, nor can it be found in the regret of other people. It is a fact of life that other people, even people who you love, will not necessarily agree with your ideas, understand you, or share your enthusiasm. Grow up. Who cares what other people think about you? And then to add on to that, Ali Abdaal, the YouTuber, he also said, you aren't as important as you think. Your friends already have other stuff and priorities that demand attention. So this helped me with recording videos like this. I was always so anxious and scared about what other people would think about me, my friends, my family. But the fact is that they don't. And why? Because they have other problems in life. And you just aren't that important, my friend. So I accepted that, and I realized, yeah, that I'm not that important for them to always think about me. So do what you do. If it's creative work, keep going at it, and eventually you'll start to trust yourself. And previously what Seth Godin said, remember in practice, is you start to build that self-trust and rid and ignore what people say about you. You just gotta grow up. Like at a certain point, you just don't really. You have to become this person that doesn't care what people say. And obviously, if it's like something bad that you're doing, then what they say is important. But most of the time, if it's not bad, then you just have to do, what you love, what your passion is, and keep going at it. And then if they have feedbacks, and hear from them. But if it's just critics and like truly not helpful critics, then just move on, grow up, right? Next, David Brooks. Life is a series of problems. Oh, it's a long quote. All right. Life is a series of problems to be analyzed and addressed. How we fix our failing schools, how we reduce violence, these problem centered questions are usually the wrong ones to ask. They focus on deficits, not gifts. A problem conversation tends to focus on one moment in time and the moment when a student didn't graduate from high school, the moment when a young person commits a crime, the moment when a person is homeless. But actual lives are lived accumulatively. It takes a whole series of shocks before a person becomes homeless, lost a job, breakdown in family relationship, maybe car problems or some transportation problems. It takes a whole series of shocks before a kid drops out from school. If you abstract away from the cumulative nature of life and define the problem as one episode, you are abstracting away from how life is lived. All conversations are either humanizing or dehumanizing. And problem-centered conversations tend to be impersonal, or deep humanizing. Better community building conversations focus on possibilities, not problems. There are questions such as what crossroads do we stand at the right now, what we build together and how we improve our lives together, and what talents do we have here that haven't been fully expressed. So this helped me. Other concepts that I learned from the psychology course that I was taking this year was focusing on the underlying principles instead of obsessing over the surface layers. And David Brooks, he's the author of The Second Mountain, which I read this book this year, and it was an amazing read. Really helped me understand more of a broad perspective of how I would like to live my life. And this quote was a long one, but he was essentially saying that, yeah, there's just going to be a series of problems in life. And there's pretty much two things: negative energy and positive energy. So, those of you who don't know, I don't really read news anymore. I used to read, like, because I study economics and I think that's so important. In some ways, it is. But if it's always at the level where it's detrimental for my mental health, then I don't read news. Like, I don't really give a shit. And in a way, I could be a bad consumer. In a way, I could be a dumb consumer. But if it's not detrimental, then I would do it. But it is. Everything is negative. Every fucking time is negative. And you just gotta accept the fact that you want to be around positive people. You want to be around positive things as much as possible because we're so contagious. And this quote really helped me understand that sometimes you just gotta do what's not conventional. All right, next. Become a lifelong learner. It was only 2 years ago. Yeah, so it was only 2 years ago that I accepted this very important concept, is that you want to become a lifelong learner. I've always believed that institutions, school, is the only way to learn and become knowledgeable and accumulate like wealth in terms of knowledge, just understanding in general. And yeah, but with internet, with books, I don't really think that it's as important as I used to think. And if you are that person that's disciplined, right? You don't have someone telling you what to do all the time, then you incorporate the habits of learning constantly. So previous summer break, I mean, most of the time I could have just enjoyed myself. I was in LA, I was with my cousin. I was really enjoying my time there, and but I chose to take this course about mental health. It's called The Science of Well-Being, taught by Yale University on Coursera. And I learned so much from it, and I was able to improve my mental health from taking that course. And through that improvement of mental health, I was able to read more books. I was able to lift more weights, become healthier, eat healthier food, and be motivated every day. So it really helped me. And these sort of like durations or periods where you don't think you'll learn something, and just by committing to um, that process and like telling yourself that okay, I gotta learn something extra and above the standard level, above what the institution is telling me, then you'll learn. And this kind of ingrained in my head that I don't want to be a graduate. I don't want to ever graduate from learning. I want to always learn. I want to always become this person that's a lifelong learner. So yeah, it helped me a lot. This was a long video. Thank you guys for watching or staying in tune. I'll be uploading more videos in the future. Definitely subscribe if you like the video. Please hit the notification bell and also like the video. Also check out this video. It's about my 10 favorite books this year of 2022. I really break down the books and give you like good summaries and what I thought about it. Hopefully you'll read one of them. So check out this video. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, peace.